Hello and welcome back to Coonbirds podcast. This is episode 2 of 2022. We'd like a warm welcome to everyone who's listening. Hope you guys are well and are doing fine. This episode will be all about sort of finding a passion. What is passion? What does it mean to us? Where we sort of have our passion and goals in the future. But yeah, Gregor, do you want to get us sort of started into sort of questions and stuff with this topic?
Yeah, so moving on to finding your passion. We came across, Jamie's actually over Christmas asked for a book called The Element, and it's all about how finding your passion can change the game for you. So, Jamie, I want to ask you a bit about kind of like why did you find this book, and why did you want to read into it, and the whole topic about finding your passion. What's driven you to do that, to research more into it?
Thank you, Gregor. So yeah, I basically finished, as audience may know, I finished uni last year with a marketing degree behind myself, which is quite happy with. And then finished uni and literally within a week was straight into full-time work, which was very lucky considering the way the world is now, and with the pandemic, people losing jobs, being lucky to get into something. I went straight into something that I was used to, sales, gone from working in a phone shop, retail sales, to doing sort of business to business sales, and then kind of found this sort of like stuck in this sort of cycle of doing the same thing, and moved to Aberdeen to be with the girlfriend and continued to move into another sales job, which wasn't exactly what was looking for to do. But I think the biggest struggle I've found is it's not been something that's a passion. I've not felt the need to do personal development to grow as a person and look at the long term goals. So like 5-10 years, where do I want to be? And it was kind of like one of these subconscious things, because when I spoke to you, Greg, obviously for Christmas, you was like asking me, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, what do I want? And it was at that sort of moment where I kind of realised that I need something to help me get there. I need something to know how to get there. So I started to have a look at sort of online, what books and stuff. Understand you can watch videos, you can go on YouTube, you can listen to things as much as you want, but I think reading a book can be a bit different, a bit more development, and more you take it in a little bit more than just listening to something. So came across the book The Element, which is called The Element: How Finding Your Passion Changes Everything, by Ken Robinson. Ken Robinson's basically actually renowned sort of writer in terms of sort of working and job environment. And the book's been a really good sort of starting point to get into understanding where you can develop. And the book starts off with basically giving you an insight to how other people found their passion and creating this idea of what is and the element. It first talks about sort of some celebrities and famous sort of artists, and how there's not an orthodox way to get into that working environment. So one of the ones it talks about is a famous artist, like Elton John, these guys who have had an upbringing where they were not understood at school. They thought they had learning difficulties. They were never going to get anywhere in life. There was this sort of idea that they didn't have anything that was going to work for them. But they noticed certain people, or a few people did notice that they had certain skill sets in certain areas, and that they are then developed themselves into, where they are now. Either industries, I've had the two different ways it goes, talks about is obviously like Elton John, things like that side of things, of how he grew as a person because people started to realise his talent. And that's where it's sort of interesting aspect of showing talent, but then it also goes down the side of talking about entrepreneurs, millionaires, how you look at Virgin, Richard Branson. I was trying to remember the name, Richard Branson. How he's kind of had sort of slightly different. There's the people who have had went to posh schools, actually did really well in school, but still didn't actually come out with exactly what they were going to do. They just found something that was passionate towards them, and that's helped them to thrive. And it's the whole book's based on the idea is to find that passion, you have to figure out yourself first, and figure out where you are and things. And it's not a short term; it's a long term sort of
Okay.
thing to do. I'm only about just under halfway through the book, so I've still got quite a bit to get through. But that's kind of like a rough sort of breakdown of the book and how it just basically gives you it shows you you're not alone in this world of finding where you want to be. Um, I've found it interesting because I've obviously did a marketing degree and I'm in sales, and I think I'm past the point of having um, a push towards or even just a pressurized environment where if you don't hit a target at the end of the month, it's kind of like not good and you don't make some money from it. Whereas I'd like to be in an environment where I was pushed to do something that I enjoy, such as marketing, being a bit more creative and that side of things. So yeah, great. Basically, the biggest thing with this book is it's the idea of helping me find that sort of passion. I understand it's not going to be the only book I might read on it, but it's sort of a starting ground for one for me.
Interesting. I mean, it's obviously a really good place to start, and you're learning more about it every time you open the book. What do you think finding your passion like means to you?
So for me, finding your passion is finding something that you either love to do. That's like so. Like I, as an example, as I've discussed before, is a golfer. Professional golfers have found a passion in a sport and have thrived in it to a point where they can actually make it work for them and pay for them to live. And I think that's the sort of goal of myself, was finding the thing that I love to do and creating a job around it that makes me the money so I can live off, I can survive and do that and thrive off that side of things. So for me, it's the biggest thing with a passion is it's something it's like you're not working. It's the aspect of just it. Your passion is something that it's like a hobby. You find the hobby first, and then you create the job around it. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with it. What about you? Like, I understand it's you've maybe got a slightly different view on it, or what's your thoughts?
It's, I think it's a touchy, or the way it's framed is quite playing to a lot of the idealistic or well viewpoint of as soon as you find your passion, you'll be happy or whatever. Where it's maybe framed in the wrong way. Like it's oh, there's all these articles and books and stuff out there that obviously like you're reading, it's like, oh, find your passion to live a happy life and stuff. But it's like the other argument in a lot of stuff online is like, oh, that's maybe just a load of like rubbish, because potentially your passion is just staying in front of you. Like reading up on it is like people are saying that you're awake for 16 hours a day, and within those 16 hours there's going to be some topic, some idea that dominates your thinking. You're going to be something in your basically in your free time. You're going to be doing something or thinking about something or talking about something that you're passionate about. What's your web browser history? Stuff that interests you. So technically, it's like your passion's already there. It's just you're ignoring it. Like when you're, this article that I'm reading is like when you're a kid, you don't think about, oh, what's my passion? You just do things. So it's like, oh, we enjoyed playing tag, running about in the garden, and playing football. You just did it. It's part of your nature. And if you didn't enjoy it, you kind of just said, oh, I don't enjoy doing that. So you try and stop doing it, right? You didn't like, um, I don't know, doing maths. So you kind of like, oh, you don't continue to do that as a kid. And maybe it's the same view
Mm-hmm.
as an adult. It's like, oh, I'm trying to search for my passion, but maybe it's right in front of you. What you talk about daily? What interests you? So maybe it's not, the problem is not the lack of passion. The problem is like the way that this article is framing it is like it's the lack of like productivity. It's the problem is perception. The problem is like acceptance. So it's maybe you're not. It's more like your priorities. The passion isn't the issue. You've got a passion. You're just ignoring it or putting it to the side. And
Yeah.
it's more about focusing your priorities on that passion itself. I guess another example, and I resonate with it as well. He was like, in this article, it's like a person who's like got this business idea or wants to set up a website selling certain products, and he's been working on it for like 3 years, right? So he's telling his friend, I'm working on this project for 3 years. but he hasn't launched anything. So he's fake. He's working on it, right? But as soon as
Mhm.
somebody comes to him and he's like, "Oh, can you please design a logo for me? I'm doing this thing with a band. I need a new digital thing." Obviously, this guy's good at digital stuff, and he
Yeah,
straight away jumps on it. He, spends loads of time on it, stays up late for it, and delivers a great product. Delivers like the best logo anybody could design. And then as soon as that project's finished, he goes back to like, "Oh, I don't know what I should be doing with my time. I'm not too sure. Oh, I'm doing this web thing that I'm launching." When actually his passion is clearly doing logos, helping his friends or people he knows develop digital assets that are improving them. So he's almost like he's
yeah,
just not accepting that as a passion because clearly he's enjoying it. So yeah, that's my view, and I think it's actually very similar. It's just a different take on it.
yeah. I want to go back to your point there on the perspective of it and
Mm-hmm.
the way to look at the side of things. Because one of the things I've done recently is one thing called a core values test. So you can get them online. You can just let you search it, or your perspective test. It's like there's tons of variations out there. You can do them, and it's the idea of to understand what core things are valued to you. What do I value in myself in terms of work wise. Where do I want to be? And I
Mm-hmm.
found it really interesting your point of saying, what do you focus on the most, or like the procrastination aspect of it. Because my core value came out. The first one was having a stable income, having being financially um, stable, or having wealth was my strongest thing, because I think I take that into consideration when it comes to doing things. So as I said, as we know, Gregor, from me moving up to Aberdeen, I was kind of like almost rushed into this job because of the want to move, instead of thinking the move had to be more what I wanted, in
Okay.
terms of getting a job that was more suited to me, that I would be happier in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Like
I
you.
would just like, I think it was interesting to sort of take that view of the perspective, because my perspective of where I'm at isn't as skewed by other wants, I think.
Okay. Do you think that because I guess the whole argument of um, or the mantra of find your passion and then you like if you find your passion and you make money from it, you never work another day in your life. I won't feel like work, right? But
Yeah.
like the reality is, work is never going to be amazing all the time, 100% of the time. Work is work, so you're going to have like different points of day or different points of your actual work that just don't that feel like work. And then maybe you can get into the zone and stuff, and then you actually enjoy it. Like no doubt, you get into the zone at work, and you're just time flies by. But some days you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but you have to do it because it's your job. The other side of it, I think, is if you're saying, oh, I want to find my passion, it's almost like a fixed mindset. So I was reading up, and there's like a study in Stanford, which basically says that suggesting that if you frame it as find your passion, it's like well intended advice, but it might not be good advice. So the way to frame it is to basically like develop your own interest, so develop your passion. So the
Mm.
whole study is like when they presented different tasks or ideas to people, and they said, "Oh, the people who had a fixed mindset of like I'm going to find my passion," quickly got bored if it got difficult. But if you say, "I want to develop my passion," as soon as you come up with a challenge or it gets a bit more difficult, um, you have a growth mindset because it's like, "Oh, I'm just developing it," and it's an idea, and it's you're kind of you're not fixated on the end goal. You're kind of like there isn't really an end goal. You're just constantly learning, developing, and maybe that's where the passion comes from. But I guess what's interesting from your point of view is you're very much tying it to your job.
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
can you not like work and have a passion on the side?
I do believe so. I think me and you have probably done that with our golf aspect. I think we have like a passion for playing a
Mm-hmm.
sport, which is good hobby and to get into. But I think that's the other thing, is it's not a passion; it's a hobby. It's a side thing. It's not what dominates your
So
life. And
what's the difference between? a passion and a hobby. Like I can be
So for
passionate.
me,
I can be passionate about golf, and it's a hobby.
yeah, I would say yeah, but you can be passionate about it, but it's not a passion. It's not something that you're striving to do all the time. I think so.
So
Like so, but anyway, it's for
well,
me.
I don't
It's like
understand your
I
point.
think
So if I was to say, "Oh, like my job," do you think that I'm striving to be the best? Uh, I don't know if you're a doctor or you're a marketer or a lawyer and trying to be the best lawyer on planet Earth, and that's your
yeah,
passion. I don't think many people do that.
true. Yeah.
So I guess
Um,
like a lot of the
I
argument
don't know.
is, I think a lot of the argument is like, okay, you're trying to tie a passion to making a living. So then it's like, what are you passionate about? And then it's like, have you actually tried to make a living off of it? Like
Mm,
you're talking about
completely.
marketing. You mentioned marketing and being a bit more creative. And then it's like, what have you done about it to build those skills, enable those skills? You think you are
Yeah.
passionate about those things, but then it's like, have you actually explored it? So I think it's
No.
never. I think developing your passion is a good one. It's never like finding.
Yeah. Whereas one of the sort of people or podcasts I listened to recently, which I think's good in this aspect, and that your point there exactly is the deep dive with Ali Abdul
Mm-hmm. They're very good
and
channel.
with Dr. Grace Lauren, who is a associate professor in behavioural science at the London School of Economics.
What was that?
She's
Behavioral
basically
science, yeah.
yeah, so she's into behavioural science at the London School of Economics,
Cool.
and the podcast is called "How to Build a Career with Goal Setting and Through Beating Procrastination."
Interesting.
And for me, that's like more like what you're saying. Passion is not about just like going having this long term thing. It's about the trying to break it down to get to that goal.
Okay.
And one of the things I think procrastination is like, you say to me, Jamie, you've not what have you done in actually marketing? You want to do marketing and you want to do that side of things, but what have I done to do that? Not a lot, because I've procrastinated around it. I've not gone in and actually just developed myself in any way or form with that skill set. I've done other things in terms of, we've had the garden business that me and Gregor ran for a period. I bought and sold golf clubs, which I think I enjoy that aspect. I find that fun. That is probably like a wee having side hustles and making money on my own is a passion of mine. But it's just interesting to talk about because I think the procrastination that can happen to reach goals, and it's why a lot of people never maybe meet it because they never get the willingness to get on with doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Something I read
I think
here
you're right.
which
I
was
think it
quite interesting.
comes back to priorities, right?
Yeah, one of the things I read here was the wealthiest place on earth is the cemetery because it's where dreams go to die.
Boy, that's deep. It's very
That is
deep.
deep, but I, I like the thought of that. If you've got a limited time here to get
Mm-hmm.
on to do the passion and have a fulfilled life, and if you don't push yourself to try and not procrastinate, get on and try these things that you think you'd like to do, albeit some of them might not. You should try it. You try and fail. And I just think to find that passion, you have to do the try fail
That's so true.
aspect.
I think it also comes back
Um,
to, sorry, just a bit of like, priorities and decision making, or like,
hmm,
when people are saying like, do you take that leap? Do you take the leap of jumping career to find something? And I think, a lot of people weigh up the pros and cons of it. And ultimately, there's an aspect of, okay, I'll do this thing because it's safe and I'm getting income. But you could always, I think, explore what you're interested in on the side. But also, that new opportunity that you don't explore can open up a lot more maybe benefits that you've not considered before. I think like what you're saying in the past is like, if you've done something such as a bit of gardening work, you would have never had the opportunity to meet new customers and maybe develop more customers, and then you actually learn new skills as well that way, and then you learn a bit of this graphic design. So you build up a whole bunch of other benefits from starting something that might not have been a passion to begin with, but becomes a passion, and then you discover what you like, and then you develop that more thoroughly. Basically, I think
Yeah,
is the thinking. It all kind of ties in together.
definitely.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's overall where thought process is a passions. It's not a sort of thing that just comes to you. It's something that you develop.
Yeah,
The passion is
definitely.
a development thing. Greg, what I want to ask you is, obviously, you audience understanding that I'm in the stages of trying to find where I want to go, my passion. I'm trying to figure it out. What about you? Would like to learn a little bit. Obviously, your passion. Do you feel like you've found it? And if not, why? Or if you have, tell us how you
Yeah.
got there.
I mean, I work in business development. I'm a business development coordinator, and I've kind of dabbled around. Um, I recently discovered you could say it's like the BDSM industry.
Okay.
So it's
What,
business development, sales, and marketing, right? Acronym. So
okay.
you really don't. It's going to be a bit of a touchy. You don't want to go about bashing it about. But anyway,
Yeah.
sales, marketing, business development, and I maybe say I wouldn't. It's hard to. Oh, find my passion. It's more like I'm enjoying the tasks that I do at work, and I feel like as long as I'm chasing something that I'm learning from, that's where I do enjoy it. So if I feel like I'm doing something, maybe not every day, but as long as I'm learning and have opportunities to learn, then I get enjoyment out of that. And the tasks that I'm doing, I understand, and it's what I've studied in the past. And yeah, taking that forward. So I wouldn't say, I just think this whole passion thing is a bit, yeah, fixated or a fixed mindset. So yeah, like what we're saying is, I feel like I'm developing my passion, but I also have like, I'm tying that to work. Outside of work, I've got, I love like, as we touched on before, like last week, it's like, like graphic design. I like designing things. I like, we like playing games. We're like having a competition, Jimmy, on when we play the PlayStation together. You could argue that that is a bit of a passion, you know? The competitiveness is a
Yeah.
passion. Um, so yeah, I think it's just an ongoing topic. I guess as well is look at our dad. He's I think he's pretty much found what he enjoys doing. Obviously
Yeah.
works all his life, retires, and then is doing this thing that he's constantly doing every day. Writing, uploading blogs, answering questions, and that's not his only thing that he likes doing, but that's what takes up most of his time. So I feel like, yeah, you can. He's obviously
I think
not
that's
maybe done it in the
interesting though because
past.
it's
So maybe
yeah.
if he did
I
that
think the
more
biggest thing with that
often,
is it's
yeah,
a yeah. I think it's just a perfect example of that. It doesn't happen, and our dad's wasn't until he was about 55 that he found this. You know,
yeah,
like
true.
that's 50 years, and he's finally found the thing that's probably given him the most satisfaction.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
the saying that his job. I think his dad still enjoyed his job and found that he got satisfaction in his job, and he's got plenty of stuff from that has
Or
developed
is
him to
it
give him.
is it us thinking that he has just based on the fact that he's not working in what he did before? There's that argument as well.
Yeah,
So you could be like, just because he's
could
doing
be.
something different, we think oh yeah, he's found what his passion is. I don't know. It's hard,
This is
and maybe it's not an end goal. It's just constantly evolving.
yeah, but I think with saying of you should never retire.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think
Always,
you're What do you think you're going to do next after you've kind of finished the book? Do you have any steps? Do you have any guidance that you're going to implement or do? Because I think that could be useful for anybody listening as well.
yeah. So my thought process is trying to have like a Word document or something for notes on my phone that my so like kind of review the week. So like every trying at least once a week. My schedule around work's kind of different, so I work kind of odd days. But on my days off, I want to try and review what I've done. in either the past week or the past few days and just review, is there anything that I'm doing to help myself develop, to grow? So that's one of the things I'm looking to do. On the longer side of things, I'm looking at trying to maybe figure out what job I want to go into. So I'm looking at different industries, learning about what they actually do in more like a day to day. So speaking to friends, I had a podcast with a friend of ours from the Gulf who's now gone into a completely different industry in the financial market, which is something that me and Greg have got an interest in, and I thought that might be something good to learn about to see if it's something for me. And it's basically communicating with other people, reviewing what I'm up to, and then trying to take the steps to see where I can improve. So I did start to do something on Google, which they have like a free digital marketing, sort of assignment says things you can do. So like help give you skill sets to improve yourself, so you know exactly how to use that side. Like Google AdWords, that side of things.
Yeah.
And I started that a few years ago when I was at uni in college, and haven't touched it since. There could be an aspect of that. It's not something I enjoyed, and it's maybe not for me. But I think I would like to review going back to that and actually try it and get into it a little bit more. So the biggest thing for me is definitely just taking the steps of, instead of procrastinating and sitting about doing not a lot, or finishing work and just coming home and realistically, I've came home and sat and watched TV and made dinner and then not done much else. Is use like the couple of hours before I have dinner, or a couple of hours after dinner, to like maybe just review some things. Albeit still have time for myself. So as you said, play PlayStation. Still got the PlayStation. Play that. Try and get a game of golf in when we can. And keep this hobbies, and you don't want to burn out. One of the things from Doctor one of the ones from that podcast, sorry, I forgot her name, Dr. Grace. She talks about how you can burn yourself out. You can really push yourself to just like get to a point where you're not happy with what you're doing, and then you take a bigger step back to creating that clear difference and goal. So yeah, and I think also the last thing I would say is definitely from that is the goal setting. Probably set myself some goals for this coming year. I haven't done that yet, so I think hopefully in the next month or two, just basically have goals that, so by the end of the year, I can see myself either doing something or finding the area of work that I think I would enjoy, and hopefully creating the changes by developing my skill set to be able to get into these jobs through the interviews, and making sure that I'm going to be attainable for certain clients. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's sort of where I'm going. Greg, I understand you're obviously in a job that you're enjoying, and you're quite happy with everything that's going on probably now. You've just moved. Gregor's recently moved in a different room in his flat, which has got to give him a lot more space. He's actually got something really nice standing desk from his work. So like, are you feeling quite comfortable where you are, or like, what's your thoughts for the coming maybe year or so, or sort of like, what's your sort of goals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, obviously look down, you think of the past year and stuff, and I think all the time you want to do something better, or start a project, or start doing something that's new, exciting. So yeah, all the time I'm constantly thinking about, oh, do I want to do this? Do I want to launch this startup idea, or do I want to sell this, or do I want to start a new hobby? Getting into more playing instruments as well. So those aspects of life is always what I'm thinking about. And I think you're right. You start off. I've started to do what you're doing, is maybe create a list of what do I want to try and achieve in 2022. I have a long list of songs I want to learn on the keyboard. So that's something that I
Nice.
need to focus on. It's a bit more contemporary music. So I'm going to try and focus on that as well. Maybe pick up the guitar more. And yeah, I think you touched on it. It's just about having a balance of work and other interests as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as I maintain that, I'll be pretty happy, I'm sure.
Cool. Nice. The last thing I was going to actually sort of like touch on is like, so quite of a funny thing. So with my work, basically as a salesman at David Lloyd's, I speak to a whole other range of people. So I found one of the things I've found with my work is really interesting is um, being in Aberdeen. It's there's quite a few wealthy people who have high end jobs in like Shell oil companies. It's got quite an oil um, driven sort of community, and so I've spoke to quite a lot of people of different groups, from insurance groups to things like that. So one of the things I'm doing with my job now is every time I speak to someone new, is I actually ask them kind of once if they've signed up and I've managed to get the sale and get that side of things sorted, I ask them, what about your work? What do you do in your job? So it's sort of quite interesting. So like every day I get to speak to at least one or two people who are doing something completely different from what I'm doing,
That's
and
cool.
learn sort of what they do in a day to day.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
So
I
I've
love
had
it.
some interesting ones. I've had like people who are like high up in oil rigs, who work or like managers on oil rigs and go away for like 3 weeks at a time. And then I've had people in like insurance groups who are like managing directors. And then I've also had some of the some younger guys who have like just literally got into like the financial market and talking about how like we've now became like just got a chartered accountant, looking to sort of develop that skill set. And it's just interesting to see the different sides of things, and learn what people get up to in day-to-day life, and even like learning what job titles are, because I think the biggest thing I find now looking at what else I want to do is you look at a job title and it's really hard to understand what that job will entail.
Mm-hmm.
It can be something like, uh, if I can't think of an example, but some of these titles that you see and you read the description and it still doesn't really give you an insight to maybe what a day-to-day could be like.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I've really found that a good a benefit of my current job, and hoping that will help me within the coming year, to sort of find
Nice.
where I maybe want to end up. So
Yeah, sounds good actually. Nice work.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Gareth. I think that's been a really sort of good episode. I hope everyone's sort of enjoyed listening to sort of learn about sort of passion. Hope if you are listening to it and maybe are in the same boat as me or Gregor, doesn't really matter where you're at in your life. There's always something you can be doing to maybe grow your career, set that sort of settings for the coming year,
I guess what we do as
and
well, Jamie, is I'll link in our descriptions all the kind of articles that we've been reading, your book as well, and just so you've got an idea of what we're looking up, and you can obviously dive into it as well if you have time. But yeah, thanks,
yeah.
Jamie. Thanks so much for answering those difficult questions.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate. It's been a good episode. Hope everyone else is listening. Gives us a wee like, comment if you've got any ideas, or if you've like what's going on in your life, sort of work wise. It'd be great to sort of hear what other people are doing. You may have a different way around it, or have a completely different thought process on what your passion means. Me and Gary love to learn. It's our podcast is about us learning, but also learning from you guys. So we'd really appreciate that. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Episode number 3 for January 2022.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. See you soon.
See you. Bye.